who are we and what gives us the right to talk about the new world of work? Well, we have been in contractor management and salary management for over 18 years now. We've been writing contracts, we've been reading contracts, and we've payrolled thousands of people over that time. Elon Musk, the Tesla CEO, said, the first step is to establish that something is possible. Then probability will occur. The technology likely to have the greatest impact on the next few decades has arrived. It's not social media, it's not big data, it's not robots, and it's not even AI. You'll be surprised to learn that it's the underlying technology of digital currencies, like Bitcoin. Some people may know Bitcoin, some may not. It's called blockchain technology. Smart contracts are the future of contracts. They will be globally accepted. And I know of one solicitor who has now turned to becoming a blockchain specialist just because he sees the potential in these global contracts. With smart contracts, you will only have a couple of areas you've got to fill in. Just complete 2 parts. The rest of the contract is just there and it just does what it does. Don't do this, don't do that, all that sort of stuff. The 2 parts in this particular example I'm talking about will be like how much and what for. So all you're going to want to know is how much or what for. And it will also allow people to work globally and receive payment in either a local currency or the global currency, whether that be Bitcoin or other global currencies that will start appearing. If you look at a car, it's going to be just as quick. Same thing, if you've got a car, say $10,000, you sit in the car, drive it around. As you leave the car, you just put in, I'm going to give you $10,000, press a button, you accept the $10,000, they walk off, I drive away in the car. The RTA, everybody's got everything. Done. Think about it, it's powerful stuff. Generation Y's, or when I looked into the e-book that I was looking at and looking at what's going on in the future, etc., and what can I put into the book, I came across a lot of things that said Generation Y's are making it clear they intend to be their own bosses. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. I think it goes right into the workforce. I think every individual wants to control their own financial destiny. They want to control how their income, their taxes, their super contributions are made, because the government's model isn't quite working for them. They are looking for flexibility and independence within the employment model. At the same time, employers are noticing this and changing their views on the way they may hire. We are all used to people who are employed being paid through a PAYG system. Why? It's just what we're used to. In the future, what if you could pay the employee like a contractor, but employ them as a member of staff, holiday, sick leave, whatever? What if they could get financial advice? What if they could increase their net take-home pay? What if they could choose how they play with their pay, which is play packets, not pay packets? What if you could employ someone but outsource the liability and compliance to a third party? What if you could give your employee the ability to maximise their income? What if they could get all the perks of a contractor under a PAYG system? The new world of work will demand this form of flexibility and freedom of payroll and employees.
I've been working in this industry for 30 years, and we've seen more change in the last 3 years than in the last 30. And I know you can feel it too. There's actually a feeling in the pit of your stomach. The great Alvin Toffler described it as future shock. And I know you're feeling it now because you can see that the world is accelerating at a rate that you might not even feel. And many people say to me, Craig, that couldn't possibly be true, that we would store the contents of the entire internet on strands of DNA. But this is already happening. I work in the data center industry, and they're all planning in the future. If you want to work in these giant data centers powering the internet, in the future you will need a degree in biotech along with IT. Just look at this. Microsoft is already going down this path, have already licensed the first 10 million strands from a small startup in Silicon Valley called Twist. This company, DJI, the biggest drone manufacturer in the world, You may have seen their iconic white drones in popular TV programs. They're an $8 billion company that could not have existed 5 years ago because we hadn't sold enough of these smart devices with accelerometers, tilt sensors, GPS. And now that we've sold billions of these and these chips only cost pennies, we can install them in a drone that you can buy at the local market here for $25. This company's at the center of it. We call them the Exponentials. I'll give you a couple examples. You know about Uber. You know it's the world's largest transport company, right? How many vehicles does it own? 10. 10 of their driverless cars that they're testing in Philadelphia, they own 10. But they don't have to buy any taxis, do they? How big are they? Well, to give you an idea of scale, they're bigger than Ford, GM, and Honda, and they did that in less than 5 years. They are 7 times larger than the entire taxi industry in America, just to give you a scale. And they're not the only one. The list goes on and on and on, 149 times, or 157 last month, but many of them were acquired by companies including Microsoft, Google, and others. Airbnb is the world's largest what? Accommodations provider. How big are they? They're bigger than a couple brands you might know, Marriott and Hilton. Right now, who would you like to be working for? Airbnb, Marriott, or Hilton? One international hotel group said to me, the financial controller said, Craig, we've just invested $19 billion in real estate, and they haven't. It's really annoying. And Tesla, a company that could soon become the best-selling car in America. This is their mind map of how these extraordinary exponential companies think, and if there was a time to get out your smartphone and snap a picture of something, it would be right now. At the top, did you hear in Will's previous presentation, he started with a massive transformational purpose, MTP at the top. And they organized themselves in a right brain, left brain world with staff on demand as they need them, with contracts that are delivered electronically, with feedback every time that they drive in their Uber car, rapid feedback for every task that they do. It's a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of working, and it's why these exponential companies are disrupting every industry in the world. Let's talk about the major trends that we're seeing in the future of work. Everybody was dismayed when the new employment data came out. We created 100,000 new jobs, but they were only part-time. I rejoiced because I can see that this economy is going the way that was predicted by a great futurist 25 years ago, Charles Handy, who said, in the future will be less like Detroit and more like Hollywood. And that's the world we're living in today. Unfortunately, our education system isn't keeping up with it, with 60% of everything that they're teaching at university and 90% at TAFE no longer required in the modern workplace. This according to the Foundation for Young Australians, who are saying that Australians that are turning out with only one skill, some of them are taking up to 4.7 years to find their first job. Did it take you 4.7 years to find your first job? Hopefully it didn't.
I am the only professional swimmer in Australia that only trains for 1 hour a day. And I think it's all about working smarter and not harder. So I've really had a look at my training program and designed a training program that suits me, and it's worked really well. I came home from Rio with a gold medal from doing about 70% less training than all the other athletes. So. It's not just coming down to laziness. I actually had 2 shoulder reconstructions after the London Games. I forgot to mention that. And it was a really interesting time. I was walking around for 3 to 6 months with my arms in a sling and a prosthetic leg, and people thought that I'd been in a skydiving accident or something, but it was just a swimming injury, and I can't train 6 hours a day in the pool like I used to. So.
In business and in our own lives, but in business in particular, we have to do this. We have to sometimes give it another shot or have a mindset to go with the flow or change or adapt like you've just done. It's not being lazy, you've adapted.
Yeah.
which is even cleverer actually than being lazy.
I like that word much better.
Yeah.
I was going to retire after London. I didn't like the idea of not only learning basically to teach myself how to swim again, but try to get up to a world standard in time for the Rio Games. And it was very difficult, but I think I woke up one morning and just said how many people have the opportunity that I have, and I really need to grab that by the horns and give it the best shot that I had. And it was all about adaptation, which you'll be amazed. If you see a Paralympic village, you'll see how the athletes adapt to what they've been given. A Paralympic village is by far my favourite place in the whole world. It's incredible. I remember being in Rio and there was a gentleman, he had no arms. He had actually had them ripped off by a tiger at a circus, strangely enough. So that's an interesting story. But he was cutting his steak with a knife and fork that he was holding in his feet and just eating like it was just a normal thing.
Now, one other thing I want to talk to you about is the future. Obviously, your future, the future of prosthetics. And for you personally, I believe you're looking at what I call a bionic leg.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I have always called it a bionic leg. The kids at primary school thought it was cooler if I called it that.
And it's called, I believe, the X3, if we can bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this leg.
Sure. I bet you've never been explained a leg before. So when I was a kid, obviously the government has to fund people prosthetic legs because we can't just be sitting in the street. So as a kid, I got government-funded prosthetics, and they're not very good. It's like walking on a door hinge. It's really terrible, actually. This one I have paid for, but it's a very cheap, basic knee unit. It actually was designed by the same guy who designed the atomic bomb, which is interesting. It's very old technology, but it's still the best technology you can have without computers. Now, Ottobock are a company that work out of Germany, and they have actually designed a prosthetic knee that has computers in it and accelerometers, and I don't know very many technical terms, sorry Tesla. But you can also charge it up just like the car, and it will last for 5 days. It was actually designed for war veterans who actually even may possibly want to return back to war, and for them to be able to have the ability to do so. Like I said, this prosthetic knee that I have now, the technology is so old, but I've realized that as soon as they started introducing computers to the market, it has improved so quickly. And I think in 3 or 4 years' time, that's going to be very old technology. I've read that they've just started 3D printing prosthetics, and the robotics are becoming more simple, but more advanced, but easy to get your hands on. So I'm really excited to see what the future of prosthetics is going to hold, because, well, for somebody like me who's young and obviously energetic and wants to get out and do those things, I haven't been able to, so it's really going to completely change the entire life of somebody who does need a prosthetic.
I was asked earlier on why I did start Pendragon in the first place, and basically it was over 18 years ago, and one of the guys who was one of the first people I actually helped out was due to come here tonight. I don't think he's in the room now, but his brother is, I know. And what it was, I had a few contractors come to me, and they said to me they just weren't comfortable with the way they were being looked after. They weren't comfortable with the way they were being managed, or they felt stifled. And I said, I didn't quite understand what it was all about, but they told me about it. 1 or 2 were on 457 visas, and they felt that the visa itself, the visa was like someone holding their throat. And they said, look, they're really controlled. So I went down to immigration and I said, look, how do you take over a visa? What do you do? And they told me. And I then discussed with them how they would like to be looked after going forward, how they would like to have more freedom and control of their financial destiny, and how I could help them become, and with the 457 guys, how I could help them become permanent residents here, because what they were putting into the country was fantastic. And voila, that's how Pendragon was formed. And it's mainly here to help assist people in whatever we can, so they enjoy the work and not worry about all the peripheral stuff around the edges. It's mainly so they can get on with their lives and enjoy it and don't feel that they're held back by any way.